This week, the nation is drawing attention to the signs and help available to those who are or have ever contemplated suicide. We wanted to learn more with our next guests, Morgan Hewett and Kyle Pierce. They are the co-founders of OptionsMD. It's good to have you both with us.
Hi.
Hi. Well, suicide is a leading cause of death here in the U.S., and we've heard numbers among certain age groups are rising since the pandemic. What are current statistics now?
Actually, suicide rates have gone up over 30% through the pandemic, and it's now the leading cause of death for people under the age of 40. So it's definitely become a much larger problem for us to address.
And why are we seeing those kinds of numbers?
Well, I think that people are struggling to find good treatment options. One thing that was amazing about the pandemic is that it definitely brought mental illness into the conversation, and we're more comfortable as a country talking about suffering from mild depression or mild anxiety. But I oftentimes still think that people who are suffering from severe depression, severe anxiety, or suicidal ideation, they lack the expertise of how to get help and how to get access to high quality care.
Because we've often heard, of the various suicide helplines, and we'll give those out in just a little bit, but suicide completely preventable, but it does require certain strategies. So where does OptionsMD come into play, and why did you decide to start this organization?
We always say that OptionsMD was a company that we didn't want to start, but we had to start. We've had family and friends who have gone through harrowing journeys struggling with mental illnesses. One of our close family members actually struggled for 10 years, tried and failed over 8 medications, had 3 suicide attempts, and ultimately spent a couple $100,000 out of pocket. So we just knew that there had to be a different way to use technology along with the number of resources available now to actually get people treated better and faster.
And that's why the two of you are such a great pair too, if I may just say, is that Kyle, you are an attorney, but you have worked for Facebook.
Yeah, so we both have worked in the healthcare world and ecosystem. For me at Facebook, I help them launch many of their healthcare products. So different tools to connect patients and people on the platform to healthcare resources.
Yeah, spent years as a healthcare attorney. We both were representing the other side of the table, the health insurers. Right. So now this is our chance to give back to patients themselves and try to create something that really puts them back in the front seat.
Yeah, that's great. And I have to ask, until someone actually seeks out the help, what can we as just good stewards to the community, as friends, as good family members in a support system do to help people who are struggling with thoughts of suicide?
Well, it's important to note that suicidal ideation is frankly just a symptom of many times mental illness. And so sometimes we do need to treat it like that. Not all suicidal ideation means that you are actually at risk of committing suicide today. And so when we want to talk to our family or friends about that, we have to approach it with that compassion. And the first step really is just listening and remaining calm and validating somebody's feelings. The last thing that you want to do is invalidate and say like, oh, you're overreacting. Things aren't really that bad. Yeah. You got to pull yourself together. And oftentimes letting them know that you are simply just there to listen. You're not there to try to fix the situation is enough.
That's one of the biggest mistakes that people make. I think the natural inclination is to always try to help by saying, oh, who can you talk to? How can we approach this? But oftentimes the biggest relief for someone is just sharing that information, and it doesn't really always require you to have some major plan, but it does require you to show up, be there, and be a supportive figure in that person's life at that time.
Yeah, and being direct as well. So not dancing around a subject, just being very direct and clear.
Yeah, these are scary topics, and if you choose to brush over it or beat around the bush, you might not get the information that you really need, which is to understand where this person currently is. Like Morgan said, like not all suicide is today, but it's important that you understand how close this person is to the edge, how much of a plan have they already created, or if this is just a passing thought in their mind.
Absolutely. And finally, Morgan, if you can share where people can find out more information about OptionsMD.
Yes, you can find out more information about OptionsMD at our website, www.optionsmd.com. We're currently accepting and treating patients in Texas, but if you are not in Texas, that's okay. You can still get free support through our peer support community, which is currently hosted on Facebook, facebook.com/group/OptionsMD.
Kyle Morgan, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
We're back after this.